Hello and welcome to the Rising Web video tutorial. Today's tutorial is going to be on 3D text, as you can see here. This is completely made inside of After Effects, and this is the video we're going to be making today. So you can see there's actually shadows on the text itself, and obviously there's a lot of possible uses for this, but we'll just show you how to make it today, and then it's up to you what you do with it. Alright, so you can see we have a light here, and then it just affects the light in the scene. And then the camera, you can just swivel that around however you want to do that. And then our titles here. And then we also have a ground as well. Obviously, you usually like to have it look like it's sitting on something. Doesn't really matter too much if it actually is, but alright, so what we can do here to get started is we're going to do new composition, and then we're going to go NTSC D1 widescreen, and we're just going to do actually a 30 frame per second 10-second long composition, and then click OK. And we're going to make a new solid. This can be our background. And we're going to add the ramp effect. Make it a dark blue. Doesn't actually have to be dark blue, you can make it any color you want. It's up to you. Anything you want. Alright, so now what we need to do is import the floor. For this I'm using a concrete floor, or what looks to be a concrete floor. And then you want to make that a 3D layer. We'll rotate it and hold shift, and that'll just make it flat, so you don't have to actually try and do it yourself. There we go, and scale that up. Push it back in the Z space a bit. Okay, now to edit this, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and double click on the mask up here, and then we're going to feather that out. And then we're going to change the expansion so it comes in a bit, change the feather, just make it look like it's kind of falling off there in the distance. There we go. Just get that in good position here. Okay, now obviously you can do different things. There's many different ways you can make a floor. You can do just a flat color, or you can do, whatever image you want to use. What I'm going to do for this is I'm going to do a fast blur. Just kind of blur it out a bit. Color correction, curves. Bring that down. There we go. And color correction, tint. So just removing any color that's in there. There you go. And then for this, I do like to have the background bleed through just a little bit. So we're going to do 80%. And just to pull that up, you actually just press T. If I can find my T key. There we go. So that's your basic floor. You can make it more or less sharp, as however sharp you want it. Change these around. It's really up to you, whatever you think looks good. There we go. Nice and dark there. Okay, so that's the basic setup. We have our somewhat of a background and our floor. From here we'll just be creating the other elements. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a text, and I'd like to have the front. Now this first text layer is going to be your front layer. So you can just type in here it's Rising Web. There we go. Not really surprised by that, are we? Okay. So I'd like to center this a little bit and then make it a 3D layer. And then pull it down, and you'll see eventually it'll start sliding through the bottom there. So you just want it just on top. You can go to your front camera if you want, just to make sure it's perfect, but it's already pretty much there. You can kind of eyeball it. Alright, so we're going to push this back just a little bit. scale it up. There we go. So this is the beginning of what will be your 3D text. Obviously it's very 2D right now, but that's about to change. So what we'll be doing here is you can click on Position and duplicate the layer and press P, and that'll pull up your position again. So what you're going to do is you're going to change this Z layer here. You can see that changes that and slides it back and forth. There we go. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this slightly behind the other layer here. So you're going to do 227 in this case. Obviously your numbers probably won't be exact. And then I'm going to change the color over here. Actually I have to go over here. I'm going to change the color to gray, and now you can see that's gray. So back there is going to be gray, the front face is going to be white. So you want to set that at 228. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll make a new adjustment layer. The reason I do this is sometimes you have an issue with the layers bleeding through. So this will just fix that issue. Okay, so now what we want to do is make sure, what I did there is I actually switched the layers back and forth, because if you have this one on top, obviously, then it's the layer that's on front. So we actually just want to change that over so we have this behind the other layer. So what you're going to do is you're going to alt-click the layer that is behind the other one, and you're going to type in this expression. What this is saying is you're saying the current value plus, and starting an array which is x, y, z. So x value, y value, and z value. It's z value. No. But we're going to do 0, comma 0, comma index times 2. And actually for this instance, because we have this at the third, what that index means is it takes the number over here. These are your index numbers. So in this case it would be 3 times 2. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to subtract 2. What that's going to do is going to change it so this, instead of being 3, is 1. So you're going to have 1 times 2, and then you're going to close your array. So value, current value, plus x value is 0, plus y value 0, plus your z value. The index minus 2 times 2. And then you're just going to click away. And there you go. So what we have here is we have 230. Now what we can do is we can actually change that to 26. There we go. And that actually puts it one pixel behind this other one here. So that's just because your starting value is whatever it is here minus this, or index. So 3 minus 2 times 2, 2 pixels. So you have to have 226 becomes 228, and it's behind. Okay, so here's how you make it 3D. I mean, that's pretty much the entire thing right there. You're done. What you can do now is you're going to want to pick whip, which means just grab this little thing here and select rising web. What that's going to do is it's going to make the positions basically stick together. So this layer is always going to stick to this one, and so on. And then you're going to go to your materials for both layers. Should have actually done this first, but a little late now. So let's select both rising web layers, materials, and cast shadows on. Close those both down. And what we'll do here is we're just going to start duplicating this layer. Just keep duplicating as much as you like. As you can see, you can have it that far back. I mean, if you want to, you can take all these and duplicate them again, and it'll just keep going on forever and ever and ever. So I mean, if you really want to go crazy, huge extrusion, just keep select and duplicate, and you can see I have like 100 and something layers. But I don't really need that many. Plus, unless you have a supercomputer, most likely you're not going to run very well on that. And this looks good enough. So what we have here is we have all of these layers. I'll just show you here real quick. Have that index -2 times 2, and it just increases it by 2 each and every time, basically pushing it back 2 pixels in Z space. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and pre-compose. Here we go. And just call this title. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to change this tick little here. We're going to turn that on. What that does is it brings the 3D-ness of the layer into this scene, because obviously we pre-composed and it all moved over. What we're going to do is we're going to pre-compose or turn this on, and it makes it so that scene is actually 3D in this scene as well. Because if you take a look here, you have two, well actually this one's from the previous one, but you have a title here, and that is inside of this comp here. So that just makes it so it's 3D in this scene. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and create a new light. Actually, let's make our camera first. Because once you start making the lights, it's really going to start, or at least for me, it's going to start lagging a bit. And we want to try and avoid that, get all of our animation and stuff done as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our transformation here. And just move ahead maybe 4 seconds. And then come back here, and now you can start rotating, doing whatever you like with that. So maybe move it over here, get that done. So then it's gonna slide up. There we go. And normally I would put some sort of a wiggle just to make it look cool if I was doing an actual not tutorial video, but this is just to show you how the 3D works. And then also I want to have the lights going across the top here, so you'll be able to see the shadows moving along the side there. Actually, let's move this for 1 second maybe. That over there. And then we're going to select all these. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Rove across time. And that's just going to make the animation a little bit smoother. So, there we go. Alright, so we pretty much got that down. Let's go ahead and add our light. So we're going to close all these here and actually change, before I do that, I want to change this material to these settings here. Now I actually did this a little bit earlier, my video got cut off, so here's what we have as far as material options here. The reason I have to change this down to 0, metal to 90%, is that if you put a light on it and you have them all at 5% and 100, it actually goes completely black. So what you want is you want it to be affected by the light, but not so much that if there's not enough light on it, it goes black. So that's why I had to change that. So let's go ahead and create our new light. And so here's the settings here: intensity 100, cone angle 90, cone feather 50, and a shadow darkness of maybe 60. Shadow diffusion 4. What this is going to do is going to be it's going to, when it's on here, it's going to be just as bright as it is now, and then it's going to all be casting shadows, and they're all going to be kind of blurred about 4 pixels. So as you can see here, we're already looking at a lot more 3D. Kind of bring it in, bring it over, and turn it. Just gonna lock these layers here. getting the light into position here. So as you can see, if you want to just come in a little bit closer, it is actually casting shadows all the way down and onto the other letters over here. Accidentally started to render. Not what I was looking to do. So if you just watch this here, obviously the light is not moving at all, but you do have the camera movement, and you can see they're all casting shadows just the way they normally would. And so what we can do now is we can actually go ahead and animate our light. Now, normally when you animate something, you hit the P button to pull up position, and then you animate it from there. Well, for lights, what you need to do is you actually need to come down and turn on the point of interest as well. What the point of interest is, it's this right here. It's where light is pointing, it is the point of interest. And basically what that means is your light's going to be pointing in that direction. If you change that, the position of your light, without changing the point of interest, what's going to happen is you're going to actually have an issue where, let's go over here, we change our light a little bit. Can't get it to go right, that's alright. There we go. You're going to have an issue where it's pointing at where it was originally and your letters are no longer visible. So that is why it's important to not only animate your position but also the point of interest for lights. Let's go back here, change this back to where it was. There we go. And animate that. You can come forward 6 seconds here, or 8 seconds, you know, whatever you want to do. Kind of just maybe make the end of our animation at 6 seconds. Change our point of interest to over here. And now we can just drag our light. So there we go. We change the point of interest a little bit. And then over here we can just animate that off completely. Go ahead and then we can just later on add a little bit of a fade to that, but for right now that's good enough. So here we go. What we have is we have our light casting on our two titles here. Actually, I don't think I mentioned this in the last video. I accidentally got cut off. The reason I have two is, let's go to our camera here, is that when we come to the side, what you'll see is you can actually see through that just a little bit. Now, when you have just the one, you can see through it more than if you have two. Now obviously that pretty much gets taken care of the moment you turn to the left or the right at all. But just to make sure that it's 100%, you know, not visible as soon as we get over here, it starts blending together. Obviously it still looks like it's banding just a little bit. But once you get to about, what is this, like 70 degrees, then it starts to be one solid thing, and you'll actually have all of your shadows kind of going off onto the other letters. So it's just kind of something you don't really have to. If you're having an issue with rendering time, you can just turn one off and then link them together so that when you move them, they all move kind of as one. So let's check out our animation here. It comes over and your light fades away. There we go. So obviously if I let it render out, it would be a little bit better, but as you can see, the light just kind of changes. You have the G casting over on the W here. So it's a very cool effect. And I'd actually like to thank Andrew Kramer from Video Copilot for kind of getting me started on this, he did a Tron video, and so basically I've used some of what he did there, mostly in the title here. So let's open up title, this coding right here. Now he actually had it on a slider, so you could change how far out each thing is, but because I'm doing actual, trying to make a solid 3D, it's good to have one or two in here. Otherwise your layer is going to be too spread out, and then you're going to be able to see between them. You can actually do 0.5, you can do 1. There's a lot of different stuff, and you can make it more or less solid depending on how solid you want it to look. If you're trying to swing around or something, I would suggest 1 and maybe a decrease of 0.5 off of that. So something that would look like minus 0.05. What that'll do is it'll make it so it moves back 1 pixel but then subtracts 0.5 from that, and it'll make them a little bit closer, or should. I haven't actually tested that out. That's just something that I came up with just now. So let's take a look here. Oh, wrong composition. One we're working on here that actually looks better than that one, and it kind of just fades away. Really like how that casts over there on the other letters there. I think it's kind of awesome. But yeah, so if you were looking to do some 3D but didn't know, I don't have 3ds Max, or I don't know how to use it, or I don't know how to import, no, you don't have to. You've got all your 3D-ness you need right in After Effects. Just use a couple expressions and bam, some awesome 3D. So there we go. Well, thanks for watching. This is Rising Web Video Tutorials, and have a good day.